the early days of that, the actor was given the opportunity to contribute sort of to the holistic process of developing the script and you know, the whole political side of it. And I think the experience with those particular producers at that time, there was a commitment not only to be entertaining, but to reflect what was going on in our society at the time. And the early stuff at Close to Home was pretty good. It did jump on all the local issues. I remember during the Land March, I was able to go down and the television followed me, but the character, and it was incorporated into the storyline. That changed, this thing changed as more options became available to audiences on the market, the requirement to satisfy the, you know, the commercial investor, all those sort of things, and the importation of, you know, other options from other parts of the world. But in its heyday, it too was an exciting, pretty on-the-button reflection of what was going on in society. My son got the lead child role in it. He was, what, 8 or 10 then, and he had this, you know, king of hair, and he fitted the part well, and I played his nutty uncle. And in one scene I had to swoop in on horseback and, you know, lift him up and charge off into the sunset sort of thing. Now, it had been years since I'd ridden a horse, but, you know, part of it was that you could ride a horse, and I thought, well, are they really going to get us to ride a horse? And sure they did, so I had to ride this horse, and my son, I thought, look, we've got to pull this off, you know, the two of us. And so they brought this horse around, pretty good sort of horse, but a huge big horse. And we both jumped on the horse, and then the horse straight away must have smelt it or felt it, bucked the two of us off. And there he is, my young boy, lying on the ground. I said, son, we've got to get back on here. We've literally got to get back on this horse because this is part of the role requirement. And, you know, to his credit, he did. And we both did. And we got back on the horse. And I think that was the metaphor for, you know, working in the film industry in New Zealand and film and television. You just got to get back on the horse. Costa sought me out for whatever reason, you know, and I mean, I'm a Christian, I'm a committed Catholic and proud to be. Well, I've refound the faith. And it was for me, gosh, how do I do this? How do I jump into a role that's supposed to be about this entity? Well, you know, like any role you play, you find the love. What drives any character I play, whether they kill their brother, their children, whatever they do, you know, love must be in there somewhere. And, you know, as a character from history, there's plenty of love around that fella, Jesus Christ, or versions of him. I thought it was a huge, big, bold move of Costa's to pull off. Whether it worked at the box, I don't know, but again, I had a huge amount of fun doing it, and it took me into a bit of a stretch zone. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Coming, you know, from my Maori background, there's never been an issue about walking with the ancestors, you know, the wairua, having that sort of spiritual dimension operative in one's life, you know, the whole business of, you know, improving my conscious daily contact with my spiritual self, that dimension, whether it's with my ancestors, whether it's with nature, whether it's with a higher power, whatever you want to call it, that's integrated into who I am. And I was able to go on that journey. I must admit it was interesting hanging on the cross, you know, out at Breaker Bay or wherever we were out. I think it was around where the old silver site, you know, was on the coast here in Wellington, and hanging up there and thinking, what must have it really been like for folk back way there when this was, you know, a fairly normal way to sort out the troublemakers. Stefan, he's an awesome dude. He's a policeman, and he makes films when he can. The Waimate Conspiracy, and then later No Gas, No Diesel. I mean, what he tried to do in there was, in a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way, look at probably some of the most critical issues around our bicultural, multicultural relationship in history. You know, land, what it means to a different culture, who has rights to it or not. And, you know, through a mockumentary approach, if you like, and you know, the cannonball became the big character. What I liked about that particular experience was that at the time I was into this style of working called practical aesthetics, which came out in New York, which was pretty much begin the scene before the camera rolls and start talking, start building up, and then you don't know when it finishes. So you get through the core of, you know, the scene, but you just keep improvising. And often, most of the stuff that he kept was the stuff that wasn't scripted, but was part of the story. And I really enjoyed that. So it was very much him allowing us, trusting the actors in it to have almost, not an entirely free rein, but to be able to almost improvise and not stop. At the time I was working with, and I still do with Youth and Risk, and we took our whole team of boys down, so they became a lot of the extras, the small part players and all that sort of stuff. So it was a huge whānau-driven thing. It was an exciting time. I remember equally the stuff we did on set, as much as the cricket we played in the summer sun, you know, down in Temuka there, out in the countryside, all those sorts of things. Because, I mean, whatever we do, whatever we make, whether it's theatre, film, television, whatever, I'd like to hope that it would be a good experience, and an experience in that you remember as part of your life journey. And you say, well, we made a good contribution at a variety of levels. And, you know, both those things, the Stephans, hey, I don't know where they'll go, who knows. Some of them went off and did reasonably good things, but they were bloody good experiences. And, you know, if you examine, you know, below the lens and inside the frames, he was trying to tackle quite big subject matter. What was the best thing about it? I had the whole family involved. You know, and that's what I like doing, where I can involve and take my whole family as part of my work, life and experience. That's got to be the one. A father with twins, that particular role, and I'm a father of twins anyway. And first reading the story, I mean, it really tore me up personally. There was, I couldn't imagine, I wouldn't want one of my own children to die in that manner, to die at all before me. You know, that's not the normal order of things. So I was able to bring a lot of personal sort of sense of reality to the role, even though it wasn't a lead in it. It was a quiet lead, you know, and Nancy Brunning and I were the sort of seasoned actors in that. On that particular film, we worked with a lot of unknowns, and Nancy and I did a lot of work to support them. But, you know, a major story, that whole thing about the dead letting go of life and the living letting go of the dead. You know, that complex in Maori, it's a huge one. Well, in any culture, it's a huge one. We can become, I guess, burdened down by grief if we don't deal with it in an appropriate way and get on with the living. So it was neat to be part of that project. Yeah, and it rained and it was messy and muddy, and it had a Vincent Waters quality about it too, set up there in the far north, and that was a magical place to be part of. I mean, I really enjoyed filming in that landscape and being in that landscape. I suppose, you know, people say to me, you know, do you have any regrets about not playing Jake in Once for Warriors? Because at the time I was being petitioned by Don, by Riwia, no, not Riwia, you know, the author, Alan Duff, and the director to come in and seriously give it a crack. But I was involved in theatrical touring group around the country, and I couldn't let all those people down and that momentum down. And you go, geez, what might have happened if I did? Hey, I'm here, I'm living, I'm breathing, you know. It ain't so bad. And it's interesting doing this, because is this a retrospective because you're about to die or something? You know, hell no. I've probably got another, if I take care of myself, you know, 25 years, 30 years on the planet. So there's a lot more work to come yet.